and it just kind of works out that way.
Yeah, you go ahead.
Okay, hi, I'm Greg Penglis.
I'm Donny T. West.
And this is a very special edition of the Greg and Donny News Show. We have some amazing families here. We're going to talk about some things that are incredibly personal to these folks, but the whole reason for us to be here tonight, we want to help them out. And these are Gold Star families. And if you've not heard that term before, we're going to explain that to you. We have folks that are going to tell their story. This is going to be a very special evening. And so our goal is to help them raise the funds for a Gold Star Memorial at Veterans Memorial Park in Pensacola. And if I goof on anything that I get this wrong, these guys are going to help me right out here. And so it's more important for you to see them, so we're just going to kind of turn around and get going. Donny, do you have anything you want to say to start with?
I just want to say before we start, can I take this opportunity to thank any veterans in the room? Who are our veterans? All right, let's just acknowledge these guys for a second.
Here we go. So this is kind of new for us too, because this is more people than we've ever had on one of our shows. So we're going to kind of, as always, every new show is a new adventure. We're going to kind of work out the details. Yeah, you guys, like I say, a lot of times we're at the Milton Park bench, so if you walk by, you want to come talk to us while we're doing this. That might be kind of fun too. And I want to start with you. If you folks just kind of introduce yourselves, and we're going to get more detailed stories, and but I want to make sure everybody knows who's here and what's happening. So we can start with it. And we'll get Dave on the side here who's doing computer operations. Can you hear me when I'm facing the other way?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right.
Yeah, we do want to focus on it too. He's got 30 minutes.
Okay, yeah. So limited time because you're a busy man with things to do.
Something like that. Hi, my name's Ed Spears, and my nephew JR was a United States Marine who was killed in Iraq in 2005.
I'm sorry.
My name is Lynn Feehan. I'm a Gold Star mom. My son died after my son served 2 years in Iraq. He came back with PTSD and he died 3 years ago, 3 months before he turned 30.
My name is Stan Barner. I'm on the committee. I'm not in the Gold Star families. However, I represent some Pensacolians that I've known for years who have had families killed in both Vietnam and the first Gulf War, also known as Desert Storm, Desert Shield.
And you guys, like I say, you can say as much as you want, as little as you want. We're pretty freewheeling here. And so there's no particular requirement. I know, and you may want to, as we get more into this, share more and more, and that's okay too. So again, this is really for you guys. So feel free.
My name is Norm LaFontaine. I'm here from a slightly different perspective. I'm a Marine vet, Vietnam. My experiences, I don't have anybody in my family that was in the military, who was killed due to the military. My relationship to being with this group is my compassion for the Gold Star families. Because as a Marine, my very first experiences as a 17-year-old Marine coming out of boot camp was coming home and 3 days later going to the funeral of one of my best friends I went to high school with. And after passing by the casket, standing in front of the family for my condolences, the mother actually broke down and just drove me out of the place because she couldn't contain herself, seeing me in uniform, having seen me at the house with her son growing up. And basically that just, I never went to a military funeral after that of anybody close. But the main thing is, over the years, I'm probably older than anybody in the room, but over the years, I've met dozens and dozens of the family and seen the devastation that was wreaked upon them. In particular, from the family of 22 Marines that perished with me, alongside of me, within a matter of minutes. And it took over 30 years before I met any of these families and found out that they didn't even know there were any survivors left that could tell them what happened to their sons, and many of them didn't even know. They were never told. So that's my dog in the fight here is, right some of the wrongs.
How did those Marines die, Frenchie?
In a helicopter crash with me. And, but that was one group. There was others.
My name is Dave Glover. I'm a medically retired infantry sergeant in the U.S. Army. In my time in service, while I was in, I had an initiation into the Cold Start life without even realizing it. My first duty assignment was with the 3rd U.S. Infantry Regiment Cold Guard, and if you're not familiar with them, they handle all of the funerals at Arlington National Cemetery. So during my time with them, I had approximately conducted close to 1,200 funerals within the Guard. So that was my first initiation into the Gold Star arena again, without realizing the significance of that. Fast forward to deployments to Afghanistan, I lost a couple friends over there, and then since then I've lost plenty of friends in Iraq and Afghanistan. And then when I moved here, I met Ashley Lucas Savage, and she gave me a different perspective to the Gold Star life and the sacrifices that it truly means.
Your turn.
Okay. My name is Ashley Lucas Savage, and I'm a Gold Star wife. My husband, he was a captain in the Marine Corps, killed on May 12, 2015 when his helicopter crashed in Nepal during Operation Shaha Yogi Hat. 6 Marines, 2 Nepalese soldiers, and 5 civilians were killed when his helicopter crashed during a rescue mission after the earthquake of 2015.
And what's left behind?
I was pregnant when my husband was killed with my son, and I had a daughter. I have a daughter as well. So 2 children, 2 Gold Star children as well in my family.
I really feel for all of you having to repeat these stories, because I know you've told them before, and I know this is something that's very very difficult to do. And so it takes a courage that not a lot of folks have to be able to do this and keep telling these stories. And what I see here is a very unique community. And so it's, we always think about the people that have served, but we don't always think about the people that serve with the people who have served. Okay, does that make sense? Yeah. And so if you could explain, any number of you can do this, what Gold Star means. What is a Gold Star family? What makes you this, and why this group is special in all the groups that are associated with the military?
As we've often said in our group meetings, it's the club no one wants to be a part of. Yeah. But there's another side to that. Once you're in that club, it's the club that will mean the most to you in your life. The people who are there because you shared an experience that is shared worldwide. People who have lost a loved one while in service to their country. And it's important to remember the families. When you think back to the origin of the Blue Star and the Gold Star.
What's the Blue Star? Well,
the Blue Star of Service is a flag, a pennant that you would put in your window, symbolizing that your family had someone in service that started in World War I. And then if, unfortunately, that person perished, your Blue Star would turn to gold. And you would then display the Gold Star. It's a silent symbol of unity and community, stating, we're in this too, and you would look down the street and see nothing but blue and gold star flags and pennants. Okay. And quietly, dignifiedly, they would change from blue to gold, and you would know what had happened, and nothing needed to be said, and you knew it was time to rally around that family. And that's what we want this memorial to be, the Gulf Coast Gold Star Memorial Monument, to those families to know we're still with you flying that flag, and we know what you've gone through. And you don't have to say anything, you don't have to tell your story to receive the support and the knowledge that we're with you.
Donny,
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about the planned memorial and about what the people watching back home can do to help with it.
Certainly. Anyone want to jump in?
Yeah.
Okay. The chairman duties. So we
got to do the official stuff.
We have partnered with the Woody Williams Foundation, and Herschel Woody Williams is a World War II Medal of Honor recipient. He earned the Medal of Honor for his actions in combat on Iwo Jima, and that that battle potentially could have gone drastically different without the actions of this one great American. And since his return to the United States and the rest of his life, he has dedicated it to Gold Star families in their memory. And they have placed, it's almost 40 monuments around the United States, and another 40 are in the works at various locations. You can go to the Woody Williams Foundation website. They have a map of there'll be a gold star where there's monuments underground, and there'll be a blue star where there's monuments that are underway. We were attracted to this foundation and this monument, number one, because it's consistent across the country. It's the same monument.
Oh, that's interesting.
So
okay.
You don't have to go through the years of debating what should it be, what should it look like, what's the language going to say. That can take years, as we've seen in our own Veterans Park here at some of the memorials. And it's important when you go through that and the community come together and agree that's how we want to recognize this particular event in our country's history. But this one's unique because on the front side, it is consistent nationwide, but on the back, there's 4 panels, and you get to choose 4 pictures that are representative of your community. They talk about patriotism, sacrifice, the homeland, and family. And so that's our challenge, to pick those 4 images that are on the back side. And when you look at the image, the monument itself, and I think Dave's going to play the video for us here, there's a cutout in the middle of it, which is a soldier saluting, but he's not there anymore. It's a void. It's a negative.
That's what that means. Okay. Yeah, I'm really glad you explained the memorial, because we're going to try and put the picture of the memorial into our video. And also, when anybody mentions a website, we're going to try and post that right into the video as well. And so this is where we have our crack editing production. Wonderful folks behind us here.
And the foundation has been great. Once they approve our project, that means they're the 501c3 who does all the tax write-offs and gives you the receipt if you donate to them. They receive all the funds. We get 100%. They don't take any administrative funds off the top. Their goal is to see monuments put on the ground to the Gold Star families and recognizing that sacrifice. And, dying is hard, dying is difficult, but going on living is extremely difficult after a traumatic event like that. I received a call on Sunday, October 23rd, just after 7 p.m. You remember these dumb details. America's Funniest Home Videos was on the TV when the phone rang, and every second after that you remember, because time stops and nothing else matters than what you're being told on the phone. And I remember every word and every inflection and every tear that you could hear over the telephone. And that began my family's journey to this point in time.
That's interesting you say that, because it is the start of another journey. I mean, we all have family members, and the natural course of life. The older folks, generations move, and life goes on. We do the best we can with our life. But this is an interrupted life. This is a life that is usually a younger life, and we have a lot of folks behind. Like you were starting a family, and all the people here. And so all of a sudden, something that that you all think could happen, and unfortunately did. And now you have to just kind of, but I imagine there's nothing that really can prepare you for this.
No, I mean, the type of deaths that we've experienced, they're violent, sudden, and unexpected. Sure, they have a very dangerous job, and we understand that you have a dangerous job, but you've always got that little sense of, it's not going to happen to me, in the back of your head. But the way that our loved ones die, it is very traumatic. It completely disrupts your entire life forever. It's inexplainable sometimes.
And there's no soft way to deliver that message. It's a person in uniform on your doorstep at an unexpected time. And your life from that point forward is completely different.
In my experience, my husband, he was on his second deployment at the time, and he had already been gone for 6 months. And he was supposed to come home, and then the earthquake happened, and they got extended.
Which earthquake are we talking about?
In Nepal, 2015. The earthquake, they were in the Philippines, my husband's unit, and they got selected to go to Nepal to provide the immediate earthquake humanitarian assistance. And he was supposed to be home in like a week, and they got extended. And it's just little things like that completely disrupt and interrupt your plans, or and
I think the randomness of this, must be traumatic also. If someone's going into a combat situation, you know that, that's potentially a problem. But you think the rescue mission, something entirely different.
Yeah, as
Yeah, feel free if anyone wants to. Are you all set?
well, I just.
You're on such a, story.
Well, I was gonna just say that the different types of Gold Star families who I have met over the past 3 years, we're a wide range of people. You have people who were killed in combat. You have people who were killed in training exercises. You have my situation, my husband, which is very rare. He was killed on a humanitarian mission, saving people, and that it's very rare what happened to him in those types of situations. Today, I went to the Bells Across America ceremony at MAS Pensacola, which is a lovely production put on by the Navy to honor Gold Star families and the loved ones that we lost. And I met a Gold Star mother there today who lost her son active duty to a rare form of leukemia. And it's just, there's all sorts of different people who wear the title of Gold Star. It's an honorable title that, like Ed was saying, we don't want it, but it's like the most honorable title we'll ever have, even though it's so bittersweet.
Yeah.
I was going to continue on with that, with the differences, not necessarily in combat. Like, my son was, because he had PTSD, he was given not an honorable discharge, a general discharge.
Okay.
And once he got out, it was within a year, he was addicted to opioids, I say that right? And he lived in Washington State, and he was at McCord Air Force Base, and he came home from my father's funeral, and he died that night of my father's funeral of a drug overdose, an accidental drug overdose. So, it's all bad. This is all bad. Anyways, the differences, you're going to find a lot of differences.
Yeah, and all different families and all different stories. Well, the military is huge. I mean, there's people that have served, and Dave, if you wanted to get into this as well too, you were talking about earlier things. Training, we've had problems, with accidents and training things. And anybody who served, this can be a Gold Star families. There's no particular division here.
Yeah, I think this group especially really focused in on if you served, you served. If you're a family of somebody who served, then you're qualified, so to speak. And if that service member perished while on active duty, while engaged with the enemy, while in training, while in garrison, after active duty, other than dying through old age, which is what we're talking about here, is through circumstances related to those, to PTSD as a byproduct of a soldier's combat time or an airman's combat time, or from conducting humanitarian housing. The how and the why, while it matters very much to the individual family members, it doesn't matter to this initiative. This initiative is about that thing.
We should point to the screen back here too, but I want to make sure they can take a look. That is the memorial that we're talking about here.
Yeah, and so that memorial means so much more than a centrally located focus point for Gold Star families, which that might be the most important and most powerful thing that memorial represents, but it also represents an awareness piece and a communication and an education tool that a community can have, especially a community such as the 1st Congressional District of Florida, which is the most veteran-dense population in the nation in terms of congressional districts. And so we don't just have 7 major DoD installations in a 100-mile range along the Gulf Coast. We don't just have an incredible amount of military retirees. We have an incredible amount of veterans, those that have served 1, 2, 3, 4 years or more and gotten out. And then we have a huge infrastructure that's built around the defense industry and complex, defense industry complex around here, such that you can't swing a cat without somebody that is either a family member or knows a veteran or an active duty service member very closely in this community. So these are the folks that, you know, represent the worst that can happen to a service member and a service member's family. But these are also the people that are in our communities. They are among us. They are of us. They are in our church pews. They are coaching baseball. They are doing great things for the community. They are the leadership for a whole city. We're in Mr. Spears here, who is on the leadership committee of sorts with, has been with the city of Pensacola, now he's at Santa Rosa and Milton. And so the point is that it represents so much more than just saying goodbye to a loved one. It's a culmination, it's a point of, hey, let's come together as a community and learn about this.
Well, you folks have to go on. There's things to do. You know, there's lives to be led, there's work to be done, there's kids to be raised, there's all kinds of things. So, yeah. Do you have a question? I always have several.
Yeah, kind of piggybacking off of what he just asked. Took me to get that out.
Yeah.
So you're all doing great things, you know, making the best of the situation. What about the people who take it particularly harder and maybe don't want to get as involved and don't want to move on? Do you guys encounter them very often? Is that a common thing?
Interesting question.
Yeah, there are
Twice today.
There are a lot of families that are very private in their experience, and we have to respect that, and we want to respect that, and they will engage and participate at whatever level they're comfortable with, up to no engagement, and that is absolutely their right. It is your right to grieve in any way you see fit. You know, this is such a traumatic experience in your life, and you know, in my particular experience, on some list somewhere, my nephew was number 2,000. And the national media thought that was significant. And he was the first casualty from Escambia County. That was significant. My brother is the last person who would like to be in front of a TV camera. So I accepted that role because, as we hear often, and as the proverb goes, as long as your name is spoken, you will never die. And that's what our family wants, first and foremost, is to keep JR's name alive, to keep telling his story of a 21-year-old kid who loved his country and was changed on 9/11 and changed his life, changed his body, changed his mindset to serve his country. You know, he was a 275-pound offensive lineman for the Tate High School football team. Well, that's not a United States Marine. And he did what it took to earn that title. And then he did his job. And so that's the ultimate statement. But we want to make sure his name lives forever.
And to jump on that, since you reminded me of the name, JR, the 2000s killed in action in the Iraqi conflict post 9/11, Operation Iraqi Freedom. This community really rallied around the Spears family in a very big way. Back in 2005, I was active duty at the time. I was at the Marine Command here, and I had the dubious honor to escort my boss, the CEO, to deliver the national ensign to Ed's sister-in-law, Marie Spears. So it was a very, very powerful moment in this community as the first killed in action from Escambia. And the local chapter or detachment of the Marine Corps League was very involved back then, got even more involved. And as Ed had said, that, you know, it was very important. Unlike some other families, Staff Sergeant Clay's family did not want to speak about their son in the public, and they never came out again. And he was killed soon after JR was. But the Spears family were very adamant about how important it was to them to keep JR's name in the community, and the detachment of the Marine Corps League rallied up to that point. The Spears family joined the detachment, and subsequently in 2006 or 2007, in a big ceremony at Tate High School, the Marine Corps League Detachment 066 renamed in an official ceremony its organization after Corporal J.R. Spears. Now it's the Corporal J.R. Spears Detachment of the Marine Corps League, and that league does more than just keep Marines off the streets when they get out of the Marine Corps, right? They're very community-oriented, very community-minded, and constantly doing community projects and things like that to better the less fortunate in our community. We have a whole Heroes Among Us speaker series, which you know a lot about, Greg and Donny, at the park. And so that, I will tell you, the fact that in my estimation, it's the single best, most effective detachment of the Marine Corps League across this country is right here in our town. I can't prove that.
You want to explain Marine Corps League just for folks?
But, and I will, but I will tell you that the inspiration for that detachment coming together and being as cohesive and as community-minded is Corporal J.R. Spears.
Okay.
And the loss to his family is what that league has been rallying around ever since 2005. The Marine Corps League is a national organization. It's a 501c4, and it's a military fraternal order, I believe. And they basically, it's an old Marines club, you know, and other service members can join as associates. But it's basically, you know,
I've seen a bunch of old Marines here together too. It's right aside.
Yeah. Well, we have a few Army guys in there. I'm going to get Glover in there soon.
There we go.
And as we've talked about a couple of times, you know, the Veterans Memorial Park is spectacular in Pensacola. It's beautiful.
We should talk about that.
It's a memorial to
Yeah.
those who have fallen. We are in the process of building a monument to the living. And that's the symbolism and the importance for us is this is for you as you walk into that park to be greeted as a living survivor. Everyone here has been touched by someone at some point in time. That makes you a Gold Star friend or a Gold Star acquaintance. Everyone in America is a Gold Star something, as sad a statement as that may be.
Well, you just turn the whole country into a community, and that's a nice, that's a good thing. There's nothing wrong with
And
that.
this memorial, this monument is for you to be greeted as someone who is about to enter a place for the fallen. But we're welcoming you knowing you are a survivor and you have to carry that burden. You have to carry on as you go and pay your respects to those who have fallen. So that, to me, is the part of the symbolic importance to this as well.
Yeah, it's like, you know, the fallen, as we say, are still serving through you. Which is, do you feel that way?
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense?
Yeah, I mean, everything I do, I try to do it in a way to honor my husband's memory.
Okay.
I mean, our kids deserve to know what he did and who he was. And I like sharing his story because he was doing so much good. I had a group of Nepalese show up to Dusty's funeral.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
And they wanted to tell me to my face that my husband was their hero.
Wow.
Because when the Chinese helicopter pilots wouldn't fly, or the Indian helicopter pilots wouldn't fly, or all of these other countries who were there would not fly because either it was too dangerous or too scary or they grounded themselves, the United States Marines flew. And they came to tell me that. And
People remember things like that.
it was special.
Yeah, it's amazing. Are you still in contact with them?
I'm friends with a few of them on Facebook, actually.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That's very interesting. We have a new person joining us. Sir, welcome.
There you go.
Slater, Wendell Slater is a former intern here with.
Do you want to join in the conversation here? Do you have something?
Definitely, yeah.
Okay.
What's the conversation from?
Oh, we'll get to that. I actually, there's something I was thinking of a little bit earlier that I think it's out of my head. We should probably go into the heroes. I don't know what I was going to talk about. Before I came here, I was in San Francisco. San Francisco is not the most, you know, pro-military place in the country, as you can probably imagine. You're nodding your head already. And so what is interesting, this is a unique place here. When Dave was talking about the amount of military that are here, veterans, people that are serving actively, everybody else. You have a unique community. And so I think this is going to be a place where you can not only get this memorial, but help other places get memorials too. Do you have anything for like places in the country that don't have the same feeling you do about the military? You know, anything you want to, guidance or wisdom for Gold Star families in places that may not be as friendly as this one?
I can kind of speak on this a little bit. Having worked in Arlington Cemetery and in the DC area, I mean, a place known for monuments and things of remembrance, I can't implore enough how important it is to have monuments like this set up around the country. I would find myself walking through the cemetery on my off days, just walking through, looking at the headstones, just appreciating the sacrifice that's in there. And it's not, again, we're not just talking about combat sacrifice, we're talking about sacrifice, all sacrifice. It's humbling. You get a real sense of perspective, seeing these monuments. And when you go down to Veterans Memorial Park downtown, that was one of the first places I visited here in Pensacola when I moved here several years ago. I went down there and I would just walk through the park and stopping at every single monument down there and appreciating the sacrifice that those monuments attested to. And like Ed was saying, there's monuments down there to celebrate, I shouldn't say celebrate, but to honor the death. But we don't really have that in place to honor the living, the survivors, and the lives that have been shattered and broken that are now forced to pick up pieces and continue on and carry the memories of their loved ones. Seeing those monuments put in place, it brings a humanity to these things that where somebody who has been killed, whether combat, whether training accidents. I've seen plenty of training accidents where soldiers have been killed. Unfortunately, after I got back from my deployment, one of my good friends was 2 days after we got back, he was killed just outside the gate by a drunk driver, and so survived a year in a combat zone to unfortunately be killed in just a random accident. These monuments are set up to give individuals, give families a place to go to sit and just be comforted and just remember, and also the public.
It's like I was saying, the memorial, this is for the living, and it just lives all by itself. You don't have to say anything. And
Right.
so this is what I find so fascinating. Do you have,
For a community that doesn't have a big military presence,
yeah.
I would say it's closer to you than you think.
Okay.
That there's a gold star closer to you than 6 degrees of separation. That it's probably only 2 or 3 degrees away from you.
Is there a national place people can get in touch with the Gold Star?
There are Gold Star organizations, and actually, someone might know some more about those organizations.
Okay.
They're branch oriented and then they're community oriented. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. And nationally, all sorts of organizations out there, I guess.
What's funny about this whole thing is I sit here, I'm kind of like the odd guy out when I think. And
There are no guys out here.
this,
Not this group.
well, anyway, this particular memorial, it does a number of different things, and everybody looks at something from their own perspective, how it affects them. And as I'm sitting here going around the table, we talk about the 6 degrees of separation. It goes to 2 degrees when you throw the military into the mix. But the thing is, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, this memorial, we're talking about it, where people can go all over the country, sort of like branding, like McDonald's. This particular memorial, you can go anywhere in the country and somewhere find this Gold Star Memorial. So you don't have to go to a park and look at all the different, things that people had their own idea about what it should be there. You got this one national type of memorial now, where people can come here to Pensacola from all over the country and see the same thing. And it basically binds everybody together. And I'm particularly connected to the Spears family and JR and that whole situation. And when the Spears got their phone call about losing their son, there were 2 fraternities joined there. You had a new family that had now joined the realm of the Gold Star families. But you had JR, who had just joined a fraternity of his own, of the Everlasting Marines. Because I don't think anybody here has mentioned or thought yet that the 23rd of October, when JR was killed, there were also many families around the country in mourning because 23 October was also the anniversary of the Beirut bombing, when we lost over 200 Marine and Navy corpsmen and some Army guys in Beirut. So they joined a whole new family of mourning on the same day, decades apart. And that's, you know, that's the type of things that go through my mind when it happens. And now I'm working on something right now where there was a guy going to flight school down here in the 80s, early 80s. I just found out a couple days ago looking at one of the cruise books that a guy had, that guy wound up CO of a squadron. And my connection to him was he was years younger than me, but his older brother from my hometown was killed in the same year I was in Vietnam. Okay, so the connections are there. And these monuments, I don't like to look at the Gold Star Monument as a monument to sacrifice so much. Everybody knows the sacrifice. How about thinking about contributions? What are the contributions that all these families made? Single greatest contribution was their loved one. So yeah, I just think a little different, that's all. Yeah. But that's me, and that's why I support.
I think it's a new term for me. I didn't hear the term Gold Star until very recently. And so I think there's an awareness issue where people just don't know. I mean, we hear about the things in the news and that kind of stuff, but we don't hear about all the families. And this is why this is a video that you all can share with everybody and just keep as a record of our conversation here today. And I think it's really important because I don't want you to have to keep telling the story. I'd rather, in my perfect world, you can just continue on and remember the people that have fallen and just keep going from there. Do you have anything you want to?
Not really. I think we finally found something we're completely
we're not doing. We should turn around. We're not doing politics in this particular one. This is not our usual show. We're going to get to the hearing that happened today. Okay, that's going to be another day.
Well, let's talk about what we need.
Okay, what do you need?
We need your money.
Okay.
We need the funds necessary to build this memorial. We need the funds necessary for its ongoing maintenance into perpetuity. We'd like to
maintain a monument. I never thought about that.
A lot of Windex to keep it nice and shiny.
Okay.
And ultimately, there's going to be failure of the caulking, and there might get a crack.
This is one of those that I thought.
This is an engineered structure. It's massive. It's 4 granite panels that are thousands of pounds, about 7 feet tall at the apex. Each panel varies, but they're roughly about 6 feet wide each. So you're talking 20, 25 feet the total width.
It's bigger than I thought. So I was looking at the picture, and then you see what that person beside is like, oh, this is big.
Yeah. And that person in the video is the cutout. That is
that is
Mr. Williams there.
Yeah, we sort of, I don't know if they use it with our computer here. We're looking at this whole website.
How old is Mr. Williams?
I think he's like 92, 91, 92.
And he still makes the dedication that he can.
Can we get him on our show?
Yes.
They're fairly great.
Now, we may have to share some time. I mean, he's going to come.
We'll go to him. We'll sit on his front porch. We don't care.
Yeah, so, like the end of Floyd.
Come on. Yeah, this is what we were just talking about. Do you have an amount you'd like to ask for? And if someone is watching this at home and just feels compelled to donate, who or what do they send their money to?
Certainly. The monument itself is around $65,000, and that's for the structure of the base, the foundation, to get it built and installed. And then we would like to double that amount, put that in a trust fund, and now that's available for the park forever to maintain that monument if it ever needs to be replaced, for the annual cleaning of it, make sure it's always in a state that it deserves to be, that is reflective of our community, that is reflective of the monument of honor that it is. So it's got to be maintained. So that's what we're looking for. Our goal is about $125,000 total. Monument itself, $65,000. You can go to the Woody Williams Foundation website, On that map I was telling you about that shows all the locations, Pensacola's on the list. You click on Pensacola, the biggest button you'll see, it says donate now. And you can donate PayPal, credit card, it goes directly to the Woody Williams Foundation. We then get a message, hey, a donation has been made, and they're keeping a running total. When we get that number, they're going to ship us some big pieces of black granite, and it's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. This is where Wall South is.
It is. And we have permission. We were granted approval by the Park Foundation to place the monument somewhere in the park. We do have some preferred locations we're looking at. We'll work with them on it. They are a full partner with us, and we appreciate everything they've done. The next step is to go to City Council because they are the ultimate owners of the park and of the property to get approval to place it there.
Do you need a bill or a lobbyist? I mean, that's what we do.
Well, the Park Foundation, now that they've approved it, they become our lobbyists. They will take it to City Council.
Right.
We'll be there to support them and stand by them and tell our story if we need to. But I think it's one of those kind of no-brainers that you like to think everyone's going to be on board and supportive. As soon as we hit those magic numbers, we're going to put this thing in place and dedicate it to our community.
Did you want to say that?
Yeah, I was going to say, seeing as you guys are in the media market and everybody's looking for
Working on it.
Yeah, interesting story. I actually didn't tell you one of the many sidebars to this whole story.
Mm-hmm.
But once again, being I have different connections, etc. in my life. But one of the things that I worked with a veteran from Afghanistan who was a Gurkha soldier. He was a Gurkha soldier from Nepal, and he was basically still being rehabilitated. He's a double above-knee amputee. Got his legs blown off in Afghanistan, serving with the Royal Brit Marines, Commandos. And ironically, one of his better friends is a former Marine infantry officer who also stayed there. Well, the connection there is that when Harry found out, he was not in his own country when the earthquake happened. So there was a lot of anxiety about family and friends and so on and so forth. And then Harry found out that, we had lost a Marine helicopter, et cetera, et cetera. And to make a long story short, Harry is quite an individual. And if you want a really good story, next spring, Harry is going to go for the Guinness Book of Records as the world's first double above knee amputee to climb Everest. And he's working on it right now. And the guy that's leading the team is a Marine officer.
And he'll be taking up one of my husband's patches with him.
We'll have to remember that.
Wow.
So my husband was killed over there, and he's going to take up his patch for me.
And we can always do more videos. If anybody has an event coming up, let us know. We'll be happy to put you on right away, something you can share and get the message out.
David has brought up our Facebook page.
Yes, here we go.
Gulf Coast Gold Star Families Memorial Monument. You can search that and it'll pop right up. If you look at the upper left, that image right there, that is a Gold Star banner. That is what it looks like.
With the red background?
It's got the red border, the white field, and then and when you're in the service, it's a blue star. And then if the ultimate sacrifice is made, it turns to gold. If you remember the movie Saving Private Ryan, that was actually based on a true story of one mother's loss of 3 of her 4 sons, and they had to find the 4th son who was in service at the time to keep her family from being totally annihilated. And so that there's stories like that, and if tragedy strikes one once, you just add more stars to the banner.
Oh, yeah. Can you guys get that on the camera here? We're going to nice close up. I shouldn't worry about a production crew. Presentation.
Well, it sounds like this is just the running the ongoing video, and most people are familiar with the parks website. But if you're not, you should go to this VeteransMemorialParkPensacola.com.
That's what's out there.
This is where it will take place, or where it will be installed, and trying to expand this a bit.
And we've had a discussion about, this is a memorial park, and this is a Monuments of Living. There are currently, is it 3 Dave, other displays to the living. There's a child's memorial, a statue of a young girl wearing an Army helmet. There is a Purple Heart recipients monument that's there, and then there's also a display for the founders of the park who created Wall South. So we're not trudging into new territory. There are other monuments versus memorials that are already there. So, but the park board was very, very supportive, very receptive. It couldn't have been a greater reception, and we appreciate them.
Can people see that video for themselves? Can they go to Veterans Memorial Park, either Facebook or a website, and be able to take a look at this, what we're seeing right here?
Which video? This one here?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
You guys can hear all this? Just make sure. Yeah. Okay. Good. It's an amazing place. I remember when the reading of the names of Wall South was going on and visited the park. They did the dedication of the 9/11 memorial. So this is a very special place.
It is. The Marine Aviation Memorial, that's very important to me as well. My husband's helicopter crash. He has a plaque out there beneath the Marine Aviation Memorial.
That's right there, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it.
Yep.
The plaque is right there.
Feel free to tell that to what you were able to do with that as well. I think that was quite interesting too.
And as you're entering the grounds, JR's plaque is the first one on the wall to the left. As you're entering.
Okay.
This video will show that as well here in a second.
That's for Park Memorial? Okay.
Monument. There's JRI. It's the little first one. Just barely.
That is at the very entrance to the park on the left as you go in. And in the future, we'll be having the first Gulf War, which was the Desert Storm, Desert Shield, will be placed there next Memorial Day. And we have, so far, we have 3 identified individuals from the local area who will be on that plaque, on that wall.
We should tell folks where this park is, especially if they're coming through the Pensacola area. What's the easiest way to get there?
Bayfront Parkway and 9th Avenue is where you'll find the park.
Yeah, the reading of this was pretty incredible. We had,
I participated in that.
yeah, we had folks on that were that set that up, and it was interesting to talk about that on our radio as well. Do you have a lot of school kids coming down to Veterans Memorial Park?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. I used to be a teacher down here before I moved to California.
Okay.
And we took field trips down there all the time.
Yeah, that's something I was thinking about too, is when I came to the United States in 1972. I was 12 years old. My parents brought me in from Australia. So I grew up in 3 countries growing up, and I didn't really understand a lot of how the United States worked because I've been here for a few years. But one of the things I remember, flute player in the marching band, and my band director was a World War II veteran, and he was a swing musician. So of course we all grew up on swing, which is really kind of cool. But what we did every Veterans Day and Memorial Day was we went to the local cemeteries where the veterans were buried. And we did a parade, and the names of the folks who were fallen from our town of Lexington, Massachusetts, ironically, where the country kind of got started, was there. And that was one of my first memories the patriotism that is in this country that you don't always see in other places. And so that's my first memory. Sort of, if you start with kids, they kind of get a sense of what the country is by having a connection, through events like that. And this is another connection. And all these things make connections with people. And as we were talking about earlier, the country becomes more of a community. And that's what Donny and I are trying to do by the fact that we disagree on virtually everything. And yet we get along fine, we can talk, it's not a problem, and we can do something like this, or actually you can do something like this, for us, and we can help out. And so that, all these things promote, I think, a great understanding and appreciation for us as Americans.
I agree with you there. I kind of want to add to that. The fact that you said that it brings us together as a community, I do 100% agree with that.
Okay.
I grew up in New York City, and when I was 7 years old, 9/11 happened. So I was in Brooklyn, and of course 9/11 happened in Manhattan.
Right. Were you close enough to see what was going on?
I saw it at my school window.
Okay.
And so I was in Catholic school. The nuns brought us into the hallway, and we all kind of gathered together, started praying. But the main point about that was that moment was etched into my life as well as plenty of the other kids in New York City, in the United States. Like that moment was paramount to a lot of people. If you were old enough to sign up, you signed up immediately. If you weren't, you remembered until you were old enough, and then you signed up.
Oh, I was 42 when I called the recruiters. What do you need? You're too old. Okay, fine. Right. So I think a lot of people do that. It was, it's very interesting. But yeah.
So in that sense, I agree that when you're young, you need to understand why or how countries form, and the fact that it's not formed just via pen and paper. It's formed sometimes with sword.
Were you taught that in school? Was there a sense of patriotism brought into your classes, or did something you kind of developed on your own, or was this event kind of like the initiator?
So I would say there's multiple factors. The event in particular kind of energized my patriotism in the format of focusing on an outward, I guess, enemy in a sense, but military service has always been in my family. My father was Army, my grandfather Army. On my mother's side, we had 2 military veterans. So military service has always been in my family. And in that sense, to me, it's a lineage. But I also moved down here after 9/11, and when living in this community in Gulf Breeze, this was before I even knew about the park actually, we were always heavily involved with military, because it's military families living around there.
I think that's a tradition through the whole country, is that there are military families, and not everybody does, but a lot of times you'll find, if it's a military family, people will find a way to serve partway through. My family's not one of those families. Yeah. I think my dad was in the Australian Air Force for a couple of years and talked very badly about it. It was a great experience, but and they were drafted, and they had a draft there too, so it was a different kind of thing. But you've done something.
So we were talking a bit about the community. Let me just ask, has anyone or anything stood in the way of getting the monument going?
No. Everyone has been overwhelmingly supportive, wanting to know what they can do, opening their hearts, their wallets, and I felt this was one of the easiest projects I've been given. It's like, we'll get this done in a year.
That's great.
That's the answer I was hoping for.
It's one of those that you'd be hard pressed to find someone that has an issue, and that gets back to when I heard other communities had faced this issue of not welcoming individuals and trying to define what a Gold Star family is, and that's not up to you. That's up to the person, to the underlying factor is your loved one didn't come home through whatever the experience was, and that means you're in the fraternity. At that point in time, then
you were asked to join, you were forced to join.
Exactly, and the extenuating circumstances be damned, you're in, unfortunately, and that's what I'm talking about. It's the club no one wants to join, but once you're in, it's a club you can't do without. You have to lean on each other and support each other, and
you do. I can see it. I can see it in all your faces. Do you guys want to take a break at all and come back and do another part of this, or do you want to keep going?
I do need to tap out, unfortunately.
So I give the floor to you then, so whatever your conclusion, anything you want to say?
Well, first and foremost, thank you for this opportunity to come on and talk to you and to the viewers about this monument. It's important. And it's not just for me and my family. It's important for everyone who places a hand on this exact same monument anywhere in the nation, because you're touching everyone's hand at the same point in time that's touched that monument. And you're reuniting America by touching that monument and knowing there's someone somewhere who feels the exact same pain and has gone through the exact same experience through whatever circumstances caused it. Their loved one was taken away from them prematurely. And you know, you can argue it's not right, it's not fair, you can ask why me, and all of that stuff really doesn't matter, because you have children, you have spouses, you have mothers and grandmothers that you have to pull back together and become a different type of family from that point in time and go forward together. And you know, you may have the hard part at that point in time, which is to go on living. You can sink into depression and become a recluse, or you can do as others have and become emboldened by it and want to share your story like Ashley and others, and keep that name out there and keep that picture of that Marine in that sharp uniform, knowing that they've earned that title and that they gave everything for our country. So those are the bullet points I would say that why this is important to me, to my family, and to our community.
That's about as much as anybody can say. That's pretty good. Yeah. So we'll leave it at this point. Thank you very much. I know you say one thing you want.